Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to study about the constraints in SQL. Okay, so here's the PPT and let's begin. So what are constraints? So SQL constraints are used to specify some rules for the data in the table. Okay, so whatever data you are entering into the table, if you specify the data to be entered with a rule, then you can use constraints here. Okay, so constraints are used to limit the type of data that can go into the table. This ensures the accuracy and the reliability of the data in the table. Okay, so if there is any violation between the constraint and the data action, the action is aborted. That means the query won't get executed. So there are some constraints here, that is not null, unique, primary key, foreign key, check, default, and create index. Okay, so we will study one by one here. So first one is not null constraint. So by default a column can hold null values, right? So if you apply this not null constraint, then it will enforce the field to always contain a value, which means that if you cannot insert a new record or update a record without adding a value to this field, that means if you keep the field empty, the action cannot be completed here. Okay, so let's go to Mysql workbench and let's try to understand the not null constraint. Okay, so I have created a DB here without any tables. So let's create one sample table. Okay, so create table sample. Okay, and then what we will write is first we will write id, okay, which is int, and then a name, okay, which is varchar 255. Then we will write after name we will write age, that is int, then salary, that is also int. Then we will write what we will write, yeah, city. We'll have 5 columns here, which is also varchar. Okay, so let's create this table. So let's execute this. Yeah, it is executed successfully. Okay, now let's see here. Select star from sample, right? So as you can see, id, name, age, salary, and city is present. Okay, now we want some of the columns, like any one of the column to be not null, right? So what we will do is we will update this table. Okay, so let's drop table sample. Okay, so table has been dropped. Now I will update a salary, which is not null. Okay, let's add a constraint here, which is not null for the salary. Now I will create a table. Okay, what is happening here? Create table sample id, name, varchar, age, and salary, int, not null, city, varchar. Table test sample doesn't exist, it seems. Okay, let's try use test, and then we will create this table. Yeah, now it got created. So if I refresh, now there is sample table with columns id, int, varchar, okay, city, varchar, and salary is also int. Okay, so now let's see the records here. So as you can see, id, name, age, salary, and city. So let's insert some value here. Okay, so insert into sample. Okay, so insert into sample, that is we need to use insert into sample. Okay, then we need to specify id, name, then age, salary, and city. right? So we'll specify values. ID is 1, so name, let's say Batman. Then age is 35 and salary is 10,000, and then city, let's give Berlin. Yeah. Let's execute this and let's see the records here. So as you can see, first record has been updated, ID, name, age, salary and city. Now we will try to update the same record with different ID, okay, and let's leave this as empty. Let's remove this and let's give ID as 2. Okay, and now if I try to execute this, it will throw an error. As you can see, insert into sample field salary doesn't have a default value. Okay, that means if I write this, it says salary has no default value. So if I try to insert a null value here, it will still throw an error. As you can see, column salary cannot be null here. Okay, that means if you try to enter empty field in case of salary, it will throw an error. Now if I write here 11, just 11, let's do fine. It gets executed successfully. So this is how not null constraint works. Okay, you cannot add an empty value here in case of salary. It needs to have a value here. Okay, so this is how not null constraint works. So the next thing is unique constraint. So what is unique constraint? Unique constraint ensures that all the values in a column are different. Okay, so both the unique and primary key constraints provide a guarantee for uniqueness of a column or set of columns. Okay, so a primary key constraint automatically has a unique constraint. Okay, so this you will get to understand when we are working with the primary key. However, you can have many unique constraints per table, but only one primary key constraint per table. Okay, so let's look into unique constraint here. So let's have a name as unique here. Okay, so first let's drop the table. Okay, and let's update the name as unique here. Okay, let's add unique here. Now since earlier this both the queries got executed, but as you can see the names have been repeated here. Now if I try to execute this, the first query will get executed and the second query will throw an error. Okay, so let's update this, like run this. Okay, I need to use this every time. Create table sample, error code, this sample doesn't exist. Why it is saying that? Drop table sample, refresh, use test, executed successfully, then create table sample ID int. It should get executed, right? Yeah, it got executed. Now let's look into the records. So ID, name, age, salary and int. Now if I try to run these two records, you see first one got executed, that is one row got executed, but the second record says like duplicate entry Batman for key sample name. That means the name is duplicated, so that's why it is not taking the Batman second query. Okay, so if I put an extra n here, then it will take this value also. So as you can see green check is there, so that means it got executed. So if I run this again, you can see the name. Okay, so this is how unique constraint works. That means it doesn't allow any duplicate values, guys. Okay, so the next is check constraint. So if you want to restrict a column based on certain condition, then you can use check constraint here. So check constraint is used to limit the value range that can be placed in a column. If you define a check constraint on a column, it will allow only certain values for the column. Okay, So let's check this, and first let's drop the table. Okay, we drop the table. Now we will apply the check constraint on the age. Okay, check age should be greater than 18. Okay, now if I write age as 18 here, it won't run. Okay, so let's run this first, execute it, and let's execute this. Yes, it's executed. Let's see the records, they should be empty. Now if I run this, as you can see, it should be greater than 18, right? Now if I run this, it will throw an error. See, so error code, check constraint sample check 1 is violated. Okay, so if I replace this with 19, then the records will get updated. So as you can see, records are successfully updated, and you can see the age has been taken into the record. So this is how check constraint works. That means if you give any condition here for particular column, then you need to satisfy that condition when you are updating the database or the table. Okay, so next is default constraint. So the default constraint is used to set the default value for a column. That means if you are leaving a column a null value or there is no value specified, then it will be updated using the default value. Okay, so let's check this also. So first of all, let's drop the table, and we will write default for city. Default will place Goa. Okay, now let's use test. Okay, it got executed. Then create table city. Yes, it got executed. Now let's run this. Okay, as you can see, this is executed. Now if I leave this Berlin as nothing, and city also, if I don't specify anything, and if I run this query, it will still run. As you can see, the rows have been affected. And now if I run this query, you will see that the city is Goa. Okay, and if I run this, and if I see this, you can see the different city has been updated. That means if you don't specify any city, then default it will take Goa. Okay, and if you specify other cities, it will take the same input. Okay, so this is how the default constraint works. Okay, so this is all for today, guys. That means we have studied about many things, that is unique constraint, then check constraint, not null constraint, and default constraint. Okay, so if you learned something and understood something from this video, do hit that subscribe button. Until then, take care. Bye bye.